This entire matter is about how there seems to be, or the narrative which is growing about the regulation on the on the YouTube content creators or content creators across social media. That is something that the central government has been looking for, and it has received a fair amount of backlash from different kind of content creators. However, a case like this suggests the fact that it got representation in Parliament also suggests that it is something that the central government might be looking into quite seriously going ahead. The language and the kind of language that is used on social media, especially on platforms which are free to use for people belonging to all age groups, including children, or rather, these are the kind of shows which are targeted towards, the teenagers, which are targeted towards the kind of, towards the age group, which is very, which is at a very particular stage of their life where they can inculcate this in their daily lives as well. And this was something that was highlighted by civic activists and politicians belonging especially to the opposition here in Maharashtra as well, about how it is the intention behind these shows and the target audience and the target groups that they are focusing on becomes a larger point of concern in the bigger narrative.
Right, Anuj, of course, the Supreme Court has said that the society has some value and you can't really not have any responsibility when it comes to the society, and that you really need to be responsible, and also you really can't take society for granted.
Yes, when you look at the FIR that was put in place by a Santa Cruz-based, businessman, he talked about how there were religious values and the sanctity of an institution like marriage that was harmed through a joke, put forth by Ranveer Allahbadia. However, the counter narrative also suggests that it is the nature and the kind of setting that the show is set in, which does not go on to claim, or rather proclaim, that it is something that is to be taken seriously. It's based on the format of roasting, the very basis of which is about how one can make fun of the other without the other person getting the offense. But that is what has turned around, has come to bite these panelists. This is not the first time that India's Got Latent show has had or has provided platform to jokes which are considered to be below the belt, considering that the very format of the show is based on humor, which is termed as offensive, which is termed as something which is which irks the other person and invites laughs. As a result of that, we have also seen that the Mumbai police and the Maharashtra Cyber Cell expanded their investigation and has tried to take all the contestants, has tried to take especially the panelists who were involved into roasting under the purview of this entire matter. Right. Many of whom are yet to record their statements in front of the police.
Right, Anuj, of course, while the Supreme Court is coming down heavily on the YouTuber, from what we're hearing is now the Supreme Court has put a stay on the FIR as far as Assam is concerned, but there is interim relief for the YouTuber. They have put a stay on the arrest. No FIR shall be registered against Allahbadia on the basis of the episode of India's Got Latent. That is what the Supreme Court has said, even though they are saying that why should we protect you, and is questioning the language that has been used, said that it's shameful when it comes to the parents or to the sisters or the society at large, and no responsibility has really been taken, and that the citizen should really be responsible when it comes to the society. So Anuj, take us through the details. What does this really mean for Allahbadia going forward? So has there been some sort of interim relief when we're talking about the Supreme Court putting a stay as far as arrest is concerned of the YouTuber?
This basically means that, and as also the experts with whom we were talking about this case earlier talked about how under Section 296, 297 and especially Section 67 of the IT Act, of course the punishment ranges from 3 years to 5 years when it comes to obscenity, whose definition is quite much like an umbrella. But there is a huge scope, and there was always a huge scope for Ranveer Allahbadia to get interim relief, which is something that his legal team has been successful to seek for, at least at the moment. However, a lot of it also depends on the kind of cooperation that his team extends, or Ranveer Allahbadia himself extends, to different agencies who are investigating this matter at the moment. Of course, it's a long drawn matter, something that will definitely go on for a longer period of time. But the primary concern or the primary motive of Ranveer Allahbadia's legal team, that was to seek at least timely relief or timely bail anticipatory bail rather is something that the team has been successful in getting for, something that was always on cards if we are to believe the experts.
Another anticipatory bail was for the police in Guwahati. But today we do know that the Jaipur police has also, filed an FIR against the YouTuber. But from what we're hearing now is that there is relief coming about for Ranveer Allahbadia because no more FIRs can be registered against Allahbadia as far as that episode, you've got a Latent is concerned. The Supreme Court has put a stay as far as the Assam FIR is concerned against Allahbadia, and of course anticipatory bail has been sought in the matter. Anuj.
Well, yes, anticipatory bail has been sought in this matter, but restrictions have been put on Ranveer Allahbadia and also on the entire show of India's Got Latent. We know that Samay Raina did delete not just this one episode, but all the 13-odd episodes which have garnered huge amount of views and likes over the course of last 7 to 8 months on the directions of the police. And now the court has stated it very clearly that no further episodes will be published without the prior permission of the court first. And secondly, there have been travel restrictions put on Ranveer Allahbadia as well, considering that no more FIRs will be filed, which means that the primary aims of the judicial team, of the legal team of Ranveer Allahbadia has succeeded to a fair extent in seeking for an anticipatory bail, and is also if not for clubbing of all the FIRs, but to at least make sure that no future FIRs are recorded against him in different parts of the country. However, his passport will be confiscated, his passport will be taken by the police, which means that he will not be able to leave the country for a long period of time. It is important to know that Samay Raina, who is the showrunner, is still not in the country, and the kind of the complaints that are being made against Ranveer Allahbadia are quite different from those made against the showrunner. So it will be interesting whether the similar kind of an observation or ruling extends to the other members of the panelists as well.
Right, Anuj, you did mention that no episodes can be aired as far as the show is concerned. But this also coming at a time when, of course, all the episodes have been deleted by Samay Raina of, you've got Latent.
Well, yes, Samay Raina, who put out a message last week talking about how he's been affected because of this entire matter, and he had taken a decision to first take down that first episode, right? When we saw that this entire controversy, when it flared up on the 10th of February, in the next few days we saw that that particular episode was taken down not just from YouTube but also from the application of India's Got Latent, as it was made unavailable to people across the world, starting from India, of course. But it was eventually, a similar kind of trend was visible throughout his channel. So Samay Raina's channel, which had aired close to 13 to 14 episodes, and 4 or 5 other episodes had already been shot, but they are under production. They were to be aired in the future course of time. Now, none of these shows, firstly, will be aired, and neither of the shows which were recorded earlier, none of them will be aired or published on his YouTube channel again. So this does come as a setback for Samay Raina, but nothing on unexpected lines, as it was always it was always taken into consideration that the future, or there seemed to be a lot of clouds of doubt over the future of this show as far as Samay Raina is concerned.
Calling him a perverted mind, saying there's something very dirty in his mind that has been vomited, and really asking why should we really protect you, but some sort of interim protection has been provided to the YouTuber. Anuj.
Most importantly, when we look at the observation made by the court, it states very clearly that it is the cooperation of Ranveer Allahbadia that is expected. Although there has been a stay on his arrest, which is a major relief for Ranveer Allahbadia and his legal team, but it is his cooperation that is going to be very crucial. We've seen how multiple summons have been put in place by Mumbai Police, by Maharashtra Cyber Cell, and also by National Commission of Women, which is a separate independent entity in this entire matter. But to none of these summons has we've seen Samay Raina, or especially Ranveer Allahbadia, has responded in a positive manner, which is why we can see that this observation being made by Supreme Court about how there is temporary relief as far as relief from arrest is concerned, but it is on the condition of full cooperation by Ranveer Allahbadia with the authorities, where again there seems to be some sort of relief, considering that there will be no more FIRs filed in other parts of the country as well.
Right, but this also comes at the time when the Cyber Cell has given that deadline, Anuj, as far as Samay Raina is concerned. the maker of the show, to appear, in person, and his request in order to hold that investigation through video conferencing was declined.
Well, yes, Samay Raina, ever since this controversy broke out, Samay Raina's legal team communicated it to Mumbai Police, and later on, of course, when the case was transferred to Maharashtra Cyber Cell, that he was currently, of course, on the US tour, and he wouldn't be able to present himself unless he is able to finish off his prior commitments. What we know is that details about his tour were also shared with the police, and it was unexpected lines that he would appear to record his statements on the 17th of February. Now, although that date isn't passed, but the summons still stands true, so it will be interesting to see what kind of an approach does the police have against him. In case of Ranveer Allahbadia, of course, he had sought for a virtual hearing, or rather a virtual recording of his statement, virtual process for recording his statement, but that was denied by the police, although he did talk about the perceived threat to his life. And another summon was put in place for Ranveer Allahbadia on the 24th of February. But it will be interesting to see whether a similar kind of pattern is followed with Samay Raina as well, considering that he's, the fact that he was going to delay the entire process because of his prior commitments was always on cards as far as the communication between his legal team and the police authorities here in Maharashtra is concerned.
Right, when we talk about the people involved, there's a long list. There's about 42 individuals, including artists and producers and influencers, who've been called in for questioning in the case. But today, of course, the Supreme Court, they're coming down heavily on the YouTuber, talking about, what's in his mind, the kind of language that he's used. That is very shameful. It will be, very shameful when it comes to the language he's used. And gone on to say that nobody would use the kind of words that have been used. And also when it comes to the threats that he's been receiving, saying that that is nothing but a publicity stunt.
Well, yes, from the very first day of this investigation, ever since the Maharashtra Cyber Cell took over this entire case, we saw that the purview of this case was expanded by them. It was earlier only against the 5 panelists who were present on the panel when this controversial episode was being recorded. But the very first thing that was undertaken by Maharashtra Cyber Cell was to get all those guests who were involved in the prior episodes as well. Now, the format of the show runs like this, where Samay Raina, of course, is the constant on the panelist, but then the other guests, they keep on changing. So it has had some really popular celebrities from either pop culture, from music industry, from comedy industry, from YouTube industry, which is huge as far as Hindi market is concerned, and also from Hindi film industry. In the future episodes, we would have also been able to see someone like an Indian cricketer like Yuzvendra Chahal, Bhuvan Bam, who are very popular faces amongst the youth, feature in this show as panelists. Now, all of these panelists whose shows have aired already were issued summons by Maharashtra Cyber Cell to record their statements. We've seen that not all of them amongst these 30 to 40 individuals, but only a few of them appeared before the police. Raghu Ram, who was the former roadies judge, is one of them. They appeared before the Maharashtra Cyber Cell and Mumbai police to share their version of what the show was like, wherein the police got to know about the format of the show, right? Be it about how the prize money is taken from the people who are present or who have come to watch this show, how this show is entirely unscripted, and the panelists do not charge any money, and how it is based on the format of roasting, which again does not have a very popular past, especially in India, considering that the AIB episode which took place in the country or took place in Mumbai is still very fresh in the memory of the people. And all of these things were undertaken by the police, by the Maharashtra Cyber Cell, but considering that not all of these 30 to 40 people who were sent summons or notices by Maharashtra Cyber Cell and Mumbai police have appeared before the court, before the authorities, it will be interesting to see whether they are issued any further summons, and whether the Maharashtra Cyber Cell is still planning to keep the purview of this entire case quite expanded, as against keeping it narrowed down as far as the 5 panelists are concerned.
Right, of course, in the name of freedom of speech, the court has said that no one has a license to speak whatever they want against the norms of society. So even though there is some interim relief when it comes to the YouTuber, in terms of arrests, in terms of no more FIRs can be registered against the YouTuber. Today itself, we do know that Jaipur police has gone ahead and registered an FIR against him. So of course, there are multiple cases against him. The NCW as well included in the investigation. Anuj, what does this really mean for the YouTuber? Of course, he was seeking that all the cases come together and that they could be clubbed as far as FIRs are concerned. But the court has really gone ahead and said that the background of the case is all different, so it really can't be clubbed. Isn't that what the court has said?
Well, yes, the court, one can see that although the observation made by court in this particular case has been, has made the position of Supreme Court very clear, right? We're all looking forward to see whether Supreme Court, what kind of precedent does Supreme Court rely on, and what kind of an observation does it make on the freedom of speech and the debate of obscenity. But they've clearly gone against the showmakers. They've clearly gone against Ranveer Allahbadia in stating that it is a kind of show which clearly falls under the purview of obscenity, especially in India, and it is not the kind of show which parents and family can sit together and watch, which is why the court has clearly made its stance very clear. However, it is not a complete loss for Ranveer Allahbadia either, because two of the primary aims that he intended, or two of the primary reliefs rather that he intended to get from this particular hearing is something that he has gotten. Although
right, Anuj, just hold that thought. We'll come back to you. We have Nupur joining us from right outside the Supreme Court. Nupur, take us through what really went on inside the Supreme Court today and what kind of relief has a YouTuber got in the case?
Well, today the Supreme Court, in a big development, has granted a stay on arrest of YouTuber Ranveer Allahbadia. However, the Supreme Court has put several conditions on him, which includes that he cannot participate in he and his associates cannot participate in such show till further orders. The Supreme Court has also asked Allahbadia to surrender his passport in the Thane police station and has said that he cannot leave country without prior court permission, which in itself is a very big development. The Supreme Court today came down heavily on Allahbadia for these remarks. The Supreme Court minced no words while expressing, its anger and anguish at the kind of remarks, the statements the YouTuber had used. And in fact, YouTuber's lawyers, Dr. Abhinav Chandrachud, who was defending him, he also said that on morals, he cannot defend the statements and he cannot actually, in fact, the Supreme Court, use certain strong words saying that these were perverted remarks from a dirty mind. And when the Supreme Court was so angry over these remarks that when the lawyer actually mentioned the death threats the YouTuber has been receiving, the Supreme Court in fact went on to the extent of saying Justice Suryakant remarked that in even the videos that are threatening him, their language is better than Allahbadia's. And the Supreme Court really today, came down heavily on Allahbadia for these remarks. However, the top court has granted him interim relief while issuing notice to 3 states where the FIRs has been registered. Supreme Court also, previously, while hearing the case, expressed disinclination in clubbing of FIRs, saying that the contents of FIRs are different. Yeah, the Assam one is different. It's on the, the remarks made on the northeastern peoples by Allahbadia in his show. And so the Supreme Court today said that it's not that the FIRs have been filed on the same remarks or the same show. So saying this, the Supreme Court has for now issued notice to these 3 states where the FIR has been registered. But till next hearing, till further hearing, till the states respond to Allahbadia's request of clubbing these FIRs, the Supreme Court has said that no fresh FIR should be filed with regarding to the episode of India's Got Latent, where the FIR has already been filed in Thane. Ranveer has to cooperate with the investigations, and he cannot be accompanied by his counsel while he is being investigating. He has to surrender his passport and he cannot leave the country without prior court permission. And he cannot participate in further such shows till further court orders. So even though the court has granted relief to Ranveer, it is not the end of this controversy for him, and certainly not end of the trouble for him from the remarks the
Right.
strong remarks the Supreme Court has made against his obscene remarks that were made in the India's Got Latent show.
Right. Of course, apart from the Maharashtra Cyber and the Guwahati police, the Jaipur police also filed a case. So this does include the FIR of the Jaipur police as well, Nupur, going forward, given the fact that no fresh FIR can be filed against the YouTuber.
Yeah, FIRs. Previously, the petition had mentioned only 2 FIRs that is filed in Assam and Mumbai. Today, his lawyer informed the court that there's another FIR that has been filed in Jaipur after filing of the petition. So, keeping that in mind, the Supreme Court has stayed that FIR also. So, for now, his arrest is stayed. He cannot be arrested, provided he cooperates with the investigating agencies.
Well, Ranveer Allahbadia, Nupur, was scheduled to appear before the NCW, the National Commission for Women, on Monday, but he failed to attend, much like his previous summons from the Mumbai police. So over to Anuj. Anuj, now he's again been called by the NCW, but that's going to only take place weeks from now. So he does have some sort of relief in the interim period.
Well, yes, all the panelists from the India's Got Latent show were expected to be in Delhi for a discussion on this matter with the NCW on the 17th of February, that is yesterday. But all of them gave different reasons for their absence, right? We had Samay Raina, who still holds on to the fact that, whose team rather holds on to the fact that he is not in the country and hence demanded for a different date. Ashish Chanchlani's team stated that his health is not keeping well. We had, Ranveer Allahbadia, who gave a similar reason to what he told Mumbai police as well about the perceived threat to his life, which is why NCW has also given a different date for for a discussion with him, which is the 6th of March, which is close to a couple of weeks from now onwards. With that and his stay being put on his arrest, that clearly is some amount of relief for Ranveer Allahbadia. But considering the fact that the way Supreme Court made such kind of strong observations in this case, not just about the language and the nature of the show, but also about putting some sort of restrictions on him, his travel, and has demanded full cooperation from Ranveer Allahbadia with different authorities, will be a major factor to be seen in the future, especially considering that in the last week or so, the summons have not really gone consistent with the kind of approach or the kind of reaction that he's had. He's been out of reach for the police. His legal team has been out of reach on multiple occasions, and that is something that he probably cannot afford to do in the future.
Right, he's been out of contact. That is what the police has been saying, Of course, we also have Nupur with us. Nupur, take us through what does it really mean? Because, he has sought anticipatory bail as well. So, Anuj, he had, of course, moved court for that anticipatory bail. Has that hearing also taken place? And what about that regard? Does he have anticipatory bail? Because does he really need it? Because the police has, the Supreme Court has now put a stay on his arrest.
Well, yes, the fact that there is a stay being put on his arrest, which means that the relief that they were trying to seek from the morale or rather rationale of seeking an anticipatory bail, that has been met with positive response from the court. So I don't think the court is not really leaning towards getting him arrested anytime soon by the authorities, considering that the overall investigation is still very much in its preliminary stage. Another important factor that really goes in liking of Ranveer Allahbadia is the fact that no future FIRs will be filed against him. That becomes very important, considering that the court today did not agree to club all of the FIRs together, given that the elements in these FIRs are completely different, which goes against the fundamentals of clubbing the FIRs together. But it is observed that no more FIRs are to be filed against Ranveer Allahbadia in this particular case, which is something that will be welcomed by Ranveer Allahbadia for sure.
Anuj, not just no more arrest, but of course he cannot also be arrested in the case. So the court there granting him protection from arrest, and also when the court is saying that as far as his language and his the words that have been used, and also saying that no more episodes can be aired. That is a restriction that the court has put forward, of course, in regard to his passport, in regard to his travel. All those restrictions are in place. But prior to this itself, Samay Raina had deleted all the episodes of India's Got Latent.
Well, yes, Samir Raina just a few days ago had firstly deleted the episode. That is a controversial episode in question, and then he went on to delete all the episodes related to India's Got Latent, not just from YouTube, but there was a separate independent app for this particular platform as well. No videos will be found either on the application or on YouTube regarding this particular controversial show. And because it was always on expected lines that the Supreme Court or the authorities were always going to demand for no more continuation of this particular show, which means that a similar sort of shows, or there will be certain strong directions by the authorities on the creators on making or on helming shows of similar nature, because of the success that India's Got Latent received. It received almost 1 crore views for every video of theirs in hours of their uploading. It had become a reference point for similar sort of shows to exist in different parts of the country, right? Even the regional YouTube environment was getting influenced by shows like these, which is why one could expect such shows to increase, but that will not happen here.
Right. Of course, he's been called for questioning by the Assam Police, and the Maharashtra Cyber Cell has also instructed him to, appear by the 24th of this month. Nupur, take us through, the Supreme Court saying that just because you're popular doesn't mean you can say whatever the hell it is that you want.
Yes, in fact, today the bench of Justice Surya Kant today minced no words while voicing the criticism for these remarks that Allahbadia has made in this show, during this show, India Has Got Latent. He said he should be ashamed of the shame he has brought to his parents. This exact remark was made by the judge when the judge was informed that Allahbadia's parents are being threatened, that his mother is a doctor and she's being threatened to be attacked on her clinic. The Supreme Court on this replied that then he should be ashamed for what he has put his parents through with his perverted remarks. The Supreme Court, even though has granted interim relief to Allahbadia, made certain very scathing observations against Allahbadia, and the Supreme Court said that no way can these remarks can be defending. And in fact, while defending him, Dr. Abhinav Chandrachud, his lawyer, said that he also cannot defend these remarks, but he sought interim relief, citing that there are multiple FIRs, and previously, he cited Nupur Sharma's case, he cited other such cases where death threats were issued. The Supreme Court said that if there are threats, the law will take its course, he can approach the law authorities for protection, but the Supreme Court will not issue any direction in that, and Supreme Court has not issued any direction he had in fact sought a relief, protection from the Supreme Court, saying that he has been receiving death threats. Today, however, the Supreme Court has not granted any such relief to him and has said that if he is getting threats, he can approach the police, and the police can, the law can take its course from there. So the Supreme Court, while issuing notice to 3 states, though has granted this interim relief, but trouble is not over for Allahbadia. And in the next hearing, the court will hear the responses of the states as to what they think on clubbing of FIRs or quashing of FIRs, as the Supreme Court has itself expressed disinclination over clubbing these FIRs, stating that the contents of the FIRs are different in both the states.
Right, Nupur, of course, the Supreme Court saying that if this is not obscenity, then what is? And in the name of freedom of speech, no one has a license to speak whatever they want against the norms of society.